Welcome to Sensibly Cynical. My name is Sean. Today I'm going to talk about comedy. I have a list here of 12 comedians, past or present, most of them are present, that I think are top notch and are my favorite comedians of all time. I'm new to the comedy scene in reality. I mean, comedians have been going back decades and decades, but I'm new to checking out guys online and checking out skits and everything. So I'm just now getting into comedy as far as seeing, guys nowadays and girls hitting it big. I mean, I'm now paying attention. So if these are geared toward newer guys, I apologize. Or if they're geared toward stereotypical legends, then that's obviously who I'm going to pick. Okay, first on my list is Jeff Gaffigan. I don't know too much about him. I know that he's huge. He's on, highest grossing lists of 2018. And I know he's known for not having or using little profanity. So I know he's hitting it big. He's going around a lot. I know he's on tour a lot. And he's just doing his thing. I don't know too much about him, but I just know that I respect him because a lot of guys and girls nowadays use profanity as a bridge to, get their routines over with the crowd. Profanity is, comical at times. It's a good way to end a joke or talk about a punchline and getting it through. So the fact that he can get his stuff done with using little to no profanity is huge for me. I think it's awesome. Okay, next on my list is somebody that my brother loves and watches him when he has time. Dane Cook. Dane Cook is awesome. He uses a lot of physical comedy. He uses his hands a lot. Hell, I've even seen him get on the ground and roll around and do physical comedy that make people laugh. I mean, I think it's great that he has had huge staying power. He's had his own show. He's made millions and millions and millions of dollars. And I don't see him going away anytime soon. I mean, you could see a headline, you see Dane Cook and it's automatically credible. I mean, 100% credible. All right. Next on my list is someone that I am biased towards because he went to my high school, Astronaut High School. So we're from the same high school, and he grew up in Titusville, as did I, and Titusville, Florida. And he has his own show, Tosh.0, Daniel Tosh. I think that, I know he's from Germany, growing up too with family and stuff. So, and the fact that he made it out of Titusville is pretty huge. It's a small town and not many people make it like totally big like he did. So I think it's cool, and it's kind of funny how, he tried to promote in Titusville one time. This is what I heard. I don't know the validity of the story, but what I heard was that Daniel tried to promote his show or promote something in Titusville, and Titusville said no. I guess he tried to do an ad or something, probably post a billboard, and the city said thanks but no thanks. So I think that's kind of funny, but he's a determined SOB, and his show hits it big a lot still. I mean, we're years and years into it, and he still gets good ratings on Comedy Central as far as I know. I mean, I haven't seen that show in a while. I know, once you get past 30, the jokes become old. It's the same, shit, literally and figuratively. Throw up jokes, all that. But he's still one of my favorites. I think he's hilarious. So, next on my list is Lewis Black. Everyone knows Lewis Black. He's an old guy. He's been in the movie Accepted, which is when I first really got to know who he is. I know he was already around before that movie, but, when he was the principal in Accepted, hilarious. Now, I've seen him, I think he did a book. He's done a lot of tours. I have his DVD somewhere. Forgot the name of it, but I don't want to botch the name of it. But anyways, he is still grinding at this age in his life, and it's highly respectable. I saw him live in Richmond, Virginia, and he was hilarious. The way he conducts himself, the way he interacts with the crowd is gold. Is gold. I think he's underrated too. Even in 2019, I think he's underrated. Okay, I would also like to talk about now the classic, the person that I think is a legend, Dave Chappelle. He has the Chappelle Show, which was huge. I mean, I was a kid when it came out, and it was all the rage. Everyone was talking about it. Dave Chappelle this. Have you seen the Chappelle Show? Do you have the DVDs, etc.? So he was huge, and he still is huge. I mean, I'm not going to discredit the guy. He's huge. He's Dave fucking Chappelle. I mean, there's not much else I can say about it. The guy is awesome. Also, next on my list is the one and the only Kevin Hart. I mean, he's hilarious. He's a short guy like me, so I'm a little biased. But he goes on tour nonstop. I know he did the Irresponsible tour not too long ago, and he stopped by Pensacola, and that was everyone's to-do list that week was, oh, are you going to see Kevin Hart? Are you going to go to the Kevin Hart stop? And, a lot of people went to it. I mean, there's not much else I can say about Kevin Hart. He's a two-time, he does a celebrity MVP. I mean, true, his performances weren't very good as far as points, but ESPN doesn't give a shit. He brought in ratings, so, I mean, not much to say about Kevin Hart. He's one of the highest grossing comedians going. He's friends with The Rock. He's friends with everybody. When you think comedian nowadays, Kevin Hart comes off the lips like first or second to most people. I mean, he's hilarious, and he's, nonstop grinder. All right, that leads me to Gabriel Iglesias, aka Fluffy. He's funny as shit. I've seen some of his stuff. I know in 2018 he made $20.5 million, and that's ridiculous. So he's on a lot of TV shows. He is someone that also is very popular with kids. He's popular with adults. He's popular with everybody. I mean, he's also a name that is very, very, very popular on lists. When you talk about like current comedians, he's on there for everybody. And that's no different when it comes to my list. All right, next on my list is Terry Fator. Now, I saw him on America's Got Talent. I think he does the puppet comedy. He's funny. He uses, is it ventriloquism? I don't know what the name of the word is, but he's funny as shit. And that's all I want to say about Terry Fator. The guy is becoming a legend if he's not already there. And speaking of funny as shit, Jeff Dunham, The Dunham Show. That's all I'm going to say about him. He's Jeff Dunham. I mean, everyone knows Jeff Dunham. TV mostly is what I've known him from. And the guy is just gold. Chris Rock. I mean, there's not much else I can say about Chris Rock. Guys, movies, TV, Energizer Bunny, nonstop. The guy's energy is off the charts. I mean, Chris freaking Rock. There's not much else I can say. He's made millions of dollars on movies, countless tour stops. The guy just doesn't stop. That leads me to Aziz Ansari. Now, I first known him. I know he does a lot of movies, and I know he does that TV show, Parks and Rec on NBC. Master of None, that as well. That's also what he's known for. So Aziz Ansari, he's hilarious. If you haven't checked him out, you definitely should. And of course, I saved the best for last. Jerry Seinfeld. Everyone knows who Jerry Seinfeld is. If you don't, you need to get up from the rock you've been living under for the last, 50 years. The guy's an absolute legend. There's podcasts just for his show. Like there's Seinfeld podcasts, and the show hasn't even been on in years. I mean, it aired from 89 to 98. It didn't even make it 10 years. and it's one of the greatest shows of all time. I mean, that's crazy. And in 2005, Comedy Central named him the 12th greatest of all time. I mean, that's pretty damn good. I mean, he's still going strong. I mean, he co-wrote the B movie. He, does this series on Netflix, which is really good, by the way. Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee, where he gets obviously it's based on the name of the show. He goes with other comedians, shoots the shit, drinks some coffee, talks about their careers, and all this fun stuff. So he's still keeping busy. But yeah, like I said, the guy spans decades. I mean, he's also said in the past that he was inspired by Abbott and Costello, which if you don't know what Abbott and Costello was, it was a comedy show in the 50s. So he dates back, that far. I mean, the man is born in 1954, so I assume when he was a little kid, when he grew up, he was watching that sort of stuff. And, he's 65 now. So while he's getting older, he still tours. I believe he still tours anyways. So Jerry Seinfeld, he still does SNL appearances. He's in a huge lucrative deal with Netflix, hence what I said, the show Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee. So he also does Netflix specials, like just his stuff, stand-up, Jerry Before Seinfeld, which, looks at his, history and stuff and all that sort of stuff. And of course he writes books. He did a children's book. So I could go on and on and on about Jerry Seinfeld. Hell, I could do a whole podcast just on that man. So I have a good story to tell you guys about my past. When I was living in Richmond, Virginia, I was a meetup host. Now we've had guests on this show that I met through Meetup. When we talked about technology, it was Embrace Technology with Peter. And then of course Cree from Sydney Like, Australia. Those were two friends I met through Meetup, the Meetup scene in Richmond. And, I was a pretty big host. I'm not trying to get too egotistical and stuff, but I had a big group. I didn't create the group. My friend Amber did, but I was a host. And one day I was like, you know what? I've always wanted to be a comedian. I've always wanted to try stand-up. So I was like, screw it. There's this bar called Pie. And it's not around anymore. It's just a dive bar. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to do an event and see who shows up. And we'll see what happens. So I invited a bunch of people, said that I was going to do stand-up for the first time, yada, yada, yada. Peter was over there. We were pre-gaming and with another friend of ours, Shatonic, and things got out of control. I started taking shots, beers, because I was getting nervous. And I had a notebook, full of jokes and stuff. But what I didn't realize then, what I do now is, hell, I could have just made fun of myself for the whole time. So, I mean, I knew I was just nervous. I didn't realize I could have done improv comedy. I'm pretty good at improv comedy. But I tried to stick to jokes, like one, actual written out jokes with punchlines. And when I got done with those, I froze and I was wasted. But anyways, I don't want to ruin the ending. So we take an Uber to this bar, right? And for those that don't know what, I guess it was, I forgot what it was called, but I think it was like Fruit Loop shots or something. Something was like a fruity shot. And it got me, buzzing or whatever. And then I started taking down shots because I was getting more nervous. So I go to the promoter and I'm like, hey, is there any way you can push me back on the show? I know, I've never done stand-up before, and I know you have, a stacked lineup tonight, but is there any way you can push me all the way back? He's like, well, I can't push you back to the end because this is the one guy I paid, but I can push you back, second to last or whatever. So I'm like, sure, that'll be good. So I get up there, and I felt like I was in a fucking True Life MTV special. Like, the crowd was like cheering for me, wanting me to do well, because they all know the story beforehand, because I was drunk. So some people, oh yeah, I haven't done this before. I'm here for the first time. Blah 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 blah. You get diarrhea of the mouth or whatever. So I was just like, yeah, I'm excited. I haven't done this before. So they all knew going in. So I could have spewed. That's how bad I was. I could have spewed bullshit, shit that wasn't funny, and then by the time I got on, they would have laughed anyways. But whatever. So I went in on Bristol Palin. I said a joke about her, the daughter of Sarah Palin, because back then it was topical, because Sarah Palin was a candidate, political candidate. So I talked about that, did a one-liner about my ex-girlfriend, and then I don't know, I just froze. My notes were empty, and the notes I did have, I couldn't read them because they were like soaked with beer. Like it was unreadable stuff. So anyways, I make it through because I have some friends that help me out, calm me down and stuff and whatever. So I'm embarrassed as fuck, but I made it through, and yeah, that's basically the gist of it. And the next morning I got like a really, really fucking bad hangover. And then another thing that's funny is people even called me out like the next 2 or 3 days when I was going out to the bars. Some of the people at the show saw me and was like, "Hey, you're Sean P. Blah 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 blah," and yeah. So apparently I was so bad that I was memorable. So that's a funny story. So, anyways, now it's time for my sensible thought. My sensible thought for the episode is that after my experience as a comedian for one night, and one night only, mind you, the legends that I mentioned in today's episode, and the comedians all over the country and world for that matter, that grind on a daily and weekly basis, make it seem so easy. It's really not easy, and they deserve a lot of credit for what they do, knowing that they don't make a lot of money doing this. Most of them don't. I mean, the people that I mentioned today are outliers. They're stars, mega stars, legends. It's a fascinating business, and I hope you enjoyed this episode of Sensibly Cynical. Subscribe, rate, and review us on iTunes. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Dawn Damari, host of A Teaspoon of Healing podcast. On my show, people share their healing journeys, and I chat with nutrition, wellness, and Reiki experts. You can find me on iTunes, Google Play, and wherever you get your podcasts, or go to my website, teaspoonofhealing.com.